voice note that has came from a situation where a child is attending a Christian school, and we'll let the rest of the voice note do the speaking, but a child is attending a Christian school. The topic of homosexuality came up, and the child made a certain comment, which we'll let the voice note speak. When the child made this comment, it was deemed offensive, and the child was going to be put into exclusion or isolation, one of the two, for 2 days. Now, what you're going to hear right now is the mother calling the school and a breakdown of the situation. So what we're going to do is play it. We may pause it in parts, but we want to react to this. And some of you may have heard this as well, because this is very viral right now.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Miss Jessie, Miss Lynch calling from Run Academy. I'm Olivia's head of house.
Just before we continue, Noble, can you hear that good?
Blessed.
Okay, let's continue.
How are you?
Hi. Is that Miss Sophie Lynch?
Yeah, speaking. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to give you a quick call about Olivia. Is now a good time to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I just wanted to speak about something that happened in tutorial time this morning.
Okay.
So students were discussing, because in tutorial resources we kind of speak about lots of different topics, and today's topic was about the decision of Uganda introducing the death penalty for kind of aggravated homosexuality. And so Olivia's form tutor kind of was encouraging discussions and asking the students, what do you think about this? Do you agree with it? And then Olivia said, oh, it's their country. They can do what they like. I agree. And so Mr. Benet challenged her on that, about why she felt that way. And then Olivia then proceeded to say that being gay is a sin she was referring to. She said it's a sin. So she said when...
Sorry, people, there's some background noise in this voice note. I'm just letting you know it's not us. So we do apologize for that. Let's continue.
She was challenged by her form tutor, but by saying that being gay is a sin, that is a homophobic comment to make. Her understanding of being homophobic is hating gay people and kind of being violent or acts of hatred towards them. But
sorry, I'm just clearing my throat.
No, it's okay, no problem at all. But basically, because she was in tutorial time, and Olivia has outwardly said in that tutorial time that being gay is a sin, she has been given a day of 2 days in the inclusion room as a sanction for this.
Why has she been? I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, carry on. I'm listening. Sorry,
I'm just about to
quickly, before we continue playing this, because just before we continue playing this, I just want to say that this is how you deal with schools and stuff. If you notice, the mom never went in aggressively. She allowed the woman to speak, and she was very respectful in when she did interject. So the first thing we have to understand and applaud is the mother's approach. Because when we are speaking to these schools, a lot of us go there sometimes with the wrong approach, and it can be deemed aggressive or deemed threatening. And I just like how this mom handled it. So let's continue on.
Explain.
Okay, right.
So I'm trying to... I've had a conversation with her this morning.
Yes.
And I'll have another conversation with her at the end of the day today.
Okay.
Because we're trying to really explain to Olivia, I said, break it down for me. What is a sin?
Okay.
Can you define what a sin is to me? And she said, it's something kind of negative, it's something bad, and that if you do that, then you go to hell. And she explained it in that way. And so I was trying to make her understand that I completely respect her religious views, but by saying in the tutorial time that being gay is a sin, that is showing prejudice, and it's saying a negative thing
Mm-hmm.
about being gay.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Christian school and a Christian...
Okay, so quickly there, Noble. You notice how we're talking about a Christian school, you know. This is just understand that this is a Christian school, people. If you're a Christian and you're someone who follows the book does, you know what I mean, go against certain lifestyles. So as a Christian school, they do have to understand that if people are to go by the book, they're gonna have a certain viewpoint. What you saying about that, Noble?
Before we continue this, I'm gonna highlight two things. As you said, Christian school, faith-based school. So based upon that, we're dealing with faith. Faith is the primary driving factor around the education of these young children. I went to a faith-based school. Now let's look at what she's highlighted. She's saying what was her exact words? Because she said it was sin. That's negative and that's homophobic in essence, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the biblical definition of sin is found in 1 James 3 and 4. Quote, sin is transgression, of the law. And we're going via the King James Version. Sin is to transgress or break the law of God. The Bible says a lot about sin, and it tells us that we have sinned, Romans 3:2 and 3, and that sin leads to death. There is no getting away from being in a faith-based school and them just saying, things are different now. It's 2023. It's the Gregorian year. So we're only going to lean on certain principles within the Biblios, the collection of books known as the Bible. No. Because we're not going to have that. Just predispose this on an Islamic school. Do you think this would even be a thing?
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be.
It seems more and more apparent these days that gang wields so much power that the Catholic Church and other denominations are saying, okay, well, we're going to acquiesce, even though it says in the book that this is, we're not supposed to do this kind of thing. And listen, everybody has choice in this world, right? If you don't want to align yourself with the 3 Abrahamic faiths, and you just think that just being good there's no limitations, being bad has no limitations, it's all subjectual, then fair enough. If you want to do those things, then that's fine. But you cannot expect people to not deal with what they've grown up with dealing with, what's written in the book. It goes against everything, Mark.
I agree. All right, let's continue on the note, and we're gonna break this down.
Academy, as you're aware, part of our ethos is being kind and accepting of others. And so you have to appreciate that in that form room, there may be students that are gay and they would feel quite uncomfortable in that situation, and for any kind of homophobic language or racist language, it's the same. We give a sanction.
I want to stop it there quickly. You notice they're always putting in racism with homosexuality. Like, this is crazy. Like, that's how they kind of get us as well, because they'll say, well, if it was racism, so they always mixing it in. But all right, let's keep it.
Well, but before you do that, though, Mark, do that, it's disingenuous to compare the two. Now, whether you think or believe or know that this is a choice, or some people would say, no, people are born this way, there's genetics involved in this and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. But if me and you are walking, Mark, anywhere, they're going to say, there's 2 black men or there's 2 brown men. We can't put on an invisible screen to camouflage and blend in with whatever population we're walking amongst. We are outwardly shown who we are as an quote unquote ethnicity. Now, as a choice, like let's say you're into model car making. Someone can't look at you and say, oh, he's a stamp collector or he likes cars. Just the same with sexual preferences. No one can look at someone and say, this person's a so-and-so, he's into whipping people, this guy is into just normal sex. No. So we can't compare the two.
Most definitely. All right, let's get back to the
days, and that's the reason why she's got a sanction of 2 days.
Okay. All right. Okay. Have you finished, Miss Lynch?
Yeah, I
Okay.
finished.
All right. Olivia is she's not having the inclusion, right? First of all, right, she was asked, right, her opinion, and she gave her honest opinion. I, for one, do not encourage any form of discrimination, right? And again, when she said it's a sin, she's coming from a religious perspective, as opposed to, okay, this is what I personally feel. Now, if Mr. Barney, is that his name, did not want an opinion, then he should not have asked her. So basically, right, and don't get me wrong, I do hear what you're saying, right? That there may be some pupils in the class that may be, gay. I do get that. And they may feel offended, right? But a question was asked of her. And I'm sure in your tutorial classes, right, or just generally with your pupils, you encourage them to speak their mind, right? Now, if she wasn't asked, she would not have said anything. So it's not like she's gone and she's, insulting, left, right, and center, be it a black person, a gay person, or whatever sort of person, be it whatever. She's not doing that. She's giving her.
I gotta stop it there quickly again. This is another thing that I would like to say that the mom executed beautifully. She pushed it back on her. So the same comparison that the teacher made, she pushed it back on her and said, even with you using that comparison, my child was asked a question to which she answered. So, you have to point out a lot of things that are done well.
Her honest opinion, and she's being penalized for that. And it's coming from a religious background. Because if, I'm not sure if you're a Christian, right? Now, this is my take, right? I'm a Christian, and we know in the Bible it's a sin. Then again, I'm not God. God judges.
That was beautifully executed. She's saying, I'm a Christian, but I'm not God, so I'm not judging nobody. This lady is laying it down, man, because when you do an English exam, you have to back up everything you're saying with examples.
Yes.
And that's what this mother's doing. And let's keep this going.
Yeah.
To me, we cannot love everyone, gay, straight, or whatever. God judges. But she was asked a question. So why is she being penalized for answering a question honestly? So I'm sorry, but I'm refusing that she does not do any inclusion. It's not fair. It's
pause
not
it, Mark.
fair.
Pause it.
Mr. Barney should not have.
Go to.
So look at the implications of this situation. What we're being shown is that we now have to tell our children who we release into the care of these adults, whether it be a faith-based school or not, that if anybody asks you a question which is borderline, you need to stop, pause, and think and respond in a way that no one is going to find offense to that. That's teaching children and adults to stay in line. Don't have your own thoughts and opinions and perish the thought. You express them verbally. Keep that in your mind. Don't let it out. That's wrong. That's creating robots. That's creating sheeple. That's creating lemmings, who will just blow like the blades of a grass anyway from left to right, back and forth. They've got nothing to stand on because they feel they will be cancelled. They will be put in 2 days exclusion. Folly, Mark, continue, please.
Quickly before we continue, I just want to add on to that. This is some very serious conditioning also, because what it's kind of almost conditioning young people to do is not have their own outlook on the world. So you're basically telling them that they can't have an opinion on anything if it offends. You see what I'm saying? So how can we ever grow and have healthy dialogue if we're in a religion that actually, this is why a lot of people I can see don't actually conform to that, because things are being changed right in front of our eyes. Things are actually being changed. So, all right, let's keep it running.
I've asked her that, and she's been saying to me for a while now. And you know, when she comes to me, and hold on, please, let me finish speaking, because you and I, we've talked about Mr. Barney the last time we spoke, and even before then, Olivia comes to me and she says, "Oh, Mr. Barney, she doesn't like the way he behaves. He's always in her face, you know, and you know, and it makes her feel uncomfortable." Now, this is not even to do with Mr. Barney, or it can be anyone. Olivia she doesn't like it when people come into her space, even with her sister. You know, if her sister gets really, really close to her in her space, she gets easily irritated. You understand? And out of respect for Mr. Barney, you know, she may have a look on her face. She probably would not want to stand. Like I've told her, you dare not disrespect any of your teachers. You dare not, right? I've said that to her, right? But she may have a look on her face of how will I put this now? Showing that she does not appreciate what is being done. So to me, it seems like she's being picked on. So Miss, I'm sorry if I'm sounding this way, but I'm not happy and I'm upset that Olivia, right, is being given inclusion, which she's not going to do, and I'll put my foot down on that.
Okay, I want to pause it there quickly. This is another masterclass in parenting.
Yes.
Now, parents, this is what you got to understand. You're in control of your child, nobody else. Don't conform to what society is saying. They were trying to put, she's saying exclusion, but it's actually, they were actually going to put her daughter in isolation.
Solitary confinement, boss.
Yeah, in that, and isolation, listen to me. I've never been in isolation, never once, but I remember when they introduced it, I was in year 11 when that got introduced. When they introduced isolation, yeah, they would take a man and put him in a hall, put you in the hall with other children that are in isolation. You would sit in this hall all day. You'd eat your dinner in the hall, and you would only go outside for fresh air for a few minutes. Like you couldn't talk, none of that. It was a grueling thing to do to children.
Okay.
Now, I remember seeing man in isolation, and it changed their behavior in the classroom. There was man who were class clowns. After isolation, they didn't want to go back to that. So they started behaving. The mans who carried on misbehaving ended up going to center and all them kind of things. You see what I'm saying? So what you have to understand is you're in control of your child. Remember that.
That's changed still. When I was in school, we had the same thing. There was a teacher that called it the Dumbo corner. This is the disrespect. So he'd say, "Okay, I've had enough of you. Noble, go to the Dumbo corner," and you'd have to go to the bottom of, not even in the hallway, Mark. You'd have to go to the end of the hallway at the bottom of the stairs, and there was a little chair and table, and it was this is old school. We had the lined computer paper, green and white, with the little perforated edges on the side, and we had to. Here, his classic one would be, you've got to write 200 lines or 500 lines saying, "I will not be disobedient and defiant in Mr. So-and-so's class." I won't put his name out there, but so-and-so's class. Big long ass words, and you had to write them shits down and make sure the spelling was correct. Once you'd done those 500 lines, then you was potentially able to go back into that class. But reference school dinners, once the school dinner bell went at 12:15 or whatever, you go straight to the lunch thing. You have your lunch, you have your normal play, you associate with the people them. So there wasn't totally taking you out of that thing and saying, "Okay, you can get fresh air for a couple minutes." That's serious conditioning.
Very serious. And the maddest thing is, imagine putting someone in isolation based off of an opinion that not an actual opinion, a fact by the faith that they follow. If you follow your faith, yeah, and you believe in your faith and you stand behind your faith, you are not going to go against that. You only have to, now don't get it twisted, I'm not no big time Bible man, Noble, so I'm not going to pretend. But is it the story of Job? Is it the story of Job where he wouldn't curse God? Is that the story, Noble?
No, it's the story of Job is the testing. He was testing. The devil was sent down to test him.
So that's the example I'm using. So Job, he refused, innit, to go against, even though he was strict to everything, he refused.
Exactly, sibling.
I'm saying if you're in a Christian school and these stories are in your book, how can you tell a child to go against what's in the book? I know it sounds
brainwashing. It's brainwashing, Mark. It's brainwashing at its highest level. I mean, I can understand potentially some teachers being in a faith-based school who are not religiously inclined. I get it. I understand, especially in this modern age. Historically and predominantly, all the teachers in that school should come from that same faith. Now,
they should.
They should, but as we can see, I mean, are you Christian? I mean, why would that even? Why would she even need to ask that? The woman said, "Oh, I did have a word with Olivia," and I asked her to explain. Now, I don't know how old. I would imagine, I don't know, is it year 9 and all that kind of stuff to call it? She's in very early stages, I would imagine, in secondary school. She doesn't have the grammar to be able to explain that situation. You know, what is sin biblically? She can't explain that. Most adults can't explain what sin is.
That's a fact. That's a fact. and then the maddest thing is like, reason why I use the story of Job is because we can all relate to that story in some sort of way, because we all go through tests in life. Yes. And sometimes when you're getting tested, it's for a reason. Yes. Whether it's financial, health, whatever it may be. You're going through a test for a reason, and it can be easy to lose focus when you're going through certain tests. And I kind of look at the Job story that way. And what I'm saying is, if you've got a child in school, and children are very, because they don't know nothing, you kind of almost programming a child with everything that you're teaching them. So if you're teaching a child that this is our faith and this is how we live our life, you get what I'm saying? We follow this Bible and we follow what this Bible says, and this is, you know, to a certain extent, this is how we live our life.
Yeah.
Now you're then telling that same child, asking that same child a question that you know the child knows the answer to based on their studying of the book. You're now going to turn around and punish that child for actually giving you a fact from the same book that you are operating a school underneath.
Exactly.
And this is what I'm saying to people, certain times in life, yeah, you have to kind of pick the sense from the nonsense, because isolating that child, yeah, is very damaging. That's why I just gave you the example of me, a man, a boy in school who did have some, you know, some issues sometimes behaving. And I was terrified of going into isolation because I thought it was like an extreme thing to do.
Yeah.
So imagine putting a little girl in there for giving a fact. So when she continues on in life now, workplaces, college, uni, even the family structure, she may not give her an opinion, may not give her a truthful opinion on nothing.
That's an anchor. That this whole situation now is a psychological anchor in her conscious and her subconscious. So as you say, any kind of situation, she might just revert back to that state of mind, that feeling, that situation, and say, you know what? I'm not going to tell the truth. I'm not going to say what I think. I'm going to say what I think you want me to say.
There you go. Let's continue on.
that because she answered a question honestly. Then why ask her? Why ask her? Why ask her?
No.
Simple thing. Hold on. Do you know what? I would appreciate if, okay, do you know, you like you did, you called her to the side and you asked her to try to understand, right? Then, okay, do you know what, Olivia, you know, you need to be sensitive and have that one-to-one with her, you know, and for it not to repeat itself again. And she wouldn't. But for her to just get inclusion, 2 days inclusion straight off the back like that, I'm sorry, she's not doing it. And I will tell her not to do it. And I will send an email to school because it's not fair.
Right, okay. I do hear your concerns. I do understand what you're saying. And I just want to make it really clear that it's not saying at all that, you know, Olivia is homophobic. It isn't that. But it's just trying to make her understand, because this morning she was very clear, well, in her picture of being homophobic is, oh, you have to hate gay people. And
That's not true. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. But that's not true. That's not true at all. Olivia.
All right, quickly. Now, this is how this is how a lot of people are getting tricked in the workplace. This is how people are getting tricked. Remember, the lady just admitted that the child didn't express any hate.
Mm-hmm.
She just didn't agree. So for just not agreeing, you're being punished. Me personally, myself, I don't have an opinion because I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. I think no matter how you answer, you're gonna get attacked or whatever. So me personally, if I'm standing up in a public forum and that conversation comes up, I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, on to
in
the next.
Christian school, where you're asking somebody for their opinion, how can you then be upset with the response?
And as the mother said, Mark, as the mother says, you took her to the side and had a one-to-one with her. So surely, as teachers would have done, like, no, but come outside, listen. What you said then, look, I know, you know, you're really advanced, all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. But you got to hold it down, man. You can't do that in the class. And that would have been the end of it. It wouldn't be like, yeah, da, 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 da. Now I'm calling your mama. Yo, know what's going on wild, man. He's being too flipping adult in this situation, and he's being da 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 blah blah. That it doesn't make any sense. The intervention took place when she took her to the side, had the conversation, gave her an opportunity to explain herself, and then, as the mum said, at that point you should be saying, look, moving forward, if this kind of situation takes place, it's not advisable that you say that. Maybe you should just, not speak to say, look, I don't want to answer the question. Based upon my historical experiences, I'm not going to answer that question, and leave it at that. To then punish and look at the situation. She would have been in class, or maybe she was in between classes, and then this teacher said, yo, Olivia, come out, I need to speak to you. And then all her friends and all her peers are looking, what's going on with Olivia? She's in trouble. And then the rumor mill starts going around, and then they start saying, "Oh, maybe that's because she answered that question in that session. She's a homophobe." Now, to have a phobia is to be scared of something. Now, that statement that she made is religious based, and there was no fear implications. There was no hate implications. And also think about this as well. What was the genesis of this conversation? Uganda's new laws in regards to homosexuality in their country.
Yeah.
That is a big boy topic, Mark. That isn't for little children.
Not at all. That shouldn't even be discussed, because remember, the West don't like that move that Uganda made. So why is that even being discussed with children? You see what I'm saying? Especially, let's keep it real, especially Black children, African children. That should not be discussed, because you can hear the mom's African now. Forgive me, I don't know exactly what accent that is. Is it Nigeria?
It's West Africa, and it sounds like a West African accent to me.
So you have to think. She's still nah, man. The teacher know what they're doing. The teacher knows what she was doing. All right, let's finish it.
And she's giggling. Remember this? Right as soon as she started playing, she's giggling.
Yeah.
My daughter, right, is very aware of different how will I put this now? Sexual orientations. She's very aware. And Olivia, right, will not show any form of hatred, right?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that was her. Sorry, if you let me finish.
Okay,
I'm not saying that she was showing hatred. I'm saying that was her understanding of what homophobia is. However, we're trying to make her understand that by saying in the tutor group to, in front of the whole class, by saying it is a sin, that is, in fact.
Again, Noble, does the book, matter of fact, does the Bible not say that, Noble?
Yes.
We're not giving no opinions here.
No.
He's saying, does the Bible not say that? And she goes to a Christian school.
It's oxymoronic. It's weird. It's totally weird because it's a Bible-based school. I'm on BibleStudyTools.com, and it's talking about sin. Sin is a riddle, a mystery, a reality that alludes to the definition and comprehension. And let me skip down the history of sin. Now, everybody, even if you're non-religious, should know this. There's something called the Garden of Eden that was created, and Adam and Eve were in that garden. And the Most High God said, eat everything you want, because it is good, but stay away from a certain tree within the Garden of Eden. Satan came down and tricked Eve into taking from the tree, the forbidden fruit, and that is called the original sin, because she went against the Most High's law. He said, eat everything, but do not do this. So we can look, and throughout this Old Testament, and it's reinforced in the New Testament, sin. Sin, what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. What is the law? We go to Leviticus, and we can go into other books, but in Leviticus specifically, the whole of the law outside of the 10 commandments, because there are more than just 10 commandments, those are very important, but it talks about these kind of things. Man should not wear what pertaineth to a woman, and woman should not wear what pertaineth to a man. It's very difficult in the modern age, 2023, to actually adhere to all of these things. So, for instance, women wouldn't be, if they was to follow the code, that law, that Levitical code, they wouldn't be able to wear trousers because trousers pertain unto a man.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's why in
that Old Testament or New Testament.
That's Old Testament days.
Okay.
That's why we see in Islam and like the Roman is, how do the women dress? You don't, unless they're westernized, you don't see them in jeans and stuff, do you? You see them in long skirts, long dresses, they're covered because that pertaineth to a woman. Trousers, jeans, pertaineth to a man. We can go all over the place. We can talk about diets. We can talk about, laying with people, etc., which is the cause of this whole conversation. Sin. It states it there, Mark. It states it. It states it all. Don't eat shrimp. Don't eat prawns. If the hoof isn't divided and doesn't chew the cud, i.e., eat grass, don't eat it.
Okay. We keep this running.
Man.
Not much luck left. Not much luck left.
Inferring that being gay is something negative, and it is for that reason. I understand. I understand your point of view. However, in line with our academy policy, we do give 2 days.
She's not going to observe it. So please, can you send my child home? She is not going to observe it. Now, let me ask you a question. It's a faith school, right? And you try to and I'm just paraphrasing now, balance different and accommodate different should I say individuals, right, with sexual orientation, which is fine. which is fine. But let's not forget that she goes to church. It's in the Bible. So what else? What if it's a faith school? Then what are you? Then what is being preached on here? So she's not making this up herself, for God's sake. And can I correct you? Can I correct you, please?
Just see me if you let me finish.
No. I was saying something.
Okay. You still there, Noble? Did you drop off?
Yeah. No, I'm there.
Okay. Notice that. Notice how the teacher couldn't respond to what the mother was saying, and in the end, she just like, yo, I want to end the call. Just gave up. Parents, it's very, very important. Nobody. No, matter of fact, let me go back. I'm going to quote Farrakhan. Farrakhan said, I'm disciplining mine today, so you don't try and discipline mine tomorrow. Let me break down what I took from that quote. What I take from that quote is that as a father, I'm going to put the necessary tools into my children to navigate this world. You ain't going to stop me from doing that. Because if I don't put them tools into these children, you're going to then put them in cuffs. You see what I'm saying? They're going to end up falling to your system.
Yes.
And this is what I keep trying to, all my friends, all the fathers that I talk to and everything, I tell them the same thing. Don't let nobody make no decisions for your children. Because what happens is people make decisions for your children, and now your children see you can't do nothing, and that can usually cause a rebel. Now, I've gave the example a few times on the podcast. When I was younger in school, facts, 1000% facts. If I'm lying, may God strike me dead. I was in school in PE, and one day, I don't know exactly what happened, but we got into some trouble. The teacher said to me, the punishment for doing whatever it is that we done meant that we had to shower with our hands behind our back, meaning that your penis was exposed. Now, the other children did it because he was like, if you don't do it, you're going to get detention. You're not going to be able to go out and do whatever. This is in secondary school. Out of all the children, I was the only one who refused. I said, I ain't doing it. Do whatever you want to do. I ain't doing that. That ain't right. That ain't normal. My mum thought that it was just going to go on as normal. I went home. I told my dad. The very next morning, my dad came to school with me, coming to school, and dealt with it politically, just like how that lady did. He dealt with it on a level where the teacher never had a leg to stand on. Now, that gave me a certain sense of protection to this wicked system. I knew that, yo, my parents are always going to do what they believe is best for me, and they're not going to let nobody lead me down the wrong path. Now, a lot of parents in today's world are so busy working 2-3 jobs, worried about everything else but their children, that they would have allowed their child to go into isolation for 2 days.
And why is that, Mark? Break it down why the parents would allow that.
Because they've conformed also.
Yes.
They've conformed to this new modern way of living, and no one goes against the grain. So they would conform and be like, okay, okay, that's the school's rules. So yeah, I'm going to put my child in isolation. Now you might think, isolation ain't that bad, but I'm telling you, that will do something to you long term as a child, because you're now going to know the teacher's got more of a say so than my mom. And you may also start to kind of, because I'm going to keep it real, Noble, before I pass you the ball. I grew up I went to a Catholic school, but I grew up in a Christian church. The van would come for man on a Sunday. You jump in the van, all the big people. Now, that experience, them years definitely gave me something that's going to last me for the rest of my life. Certain respect, certain manners. understanding a lot of the elders. That's what church did. So I would never ever take that away. But I remember just hearing a lot of the church sisters chatting each other and doing all of that stuff. And based off of that, I was like, you lot are hypocrites.
Yes.
So when I got of age, I didn't even go back. So what I'm trying to say is, that's what isolating that child could do. No, but what you saying, man?
Listen, I'll go in reverse. As I've always give the analogy, and I will constantly do it. Religion, religio, hold, to restrain, to bind. We've got knives and forks that we use to eat our food with. If someone came into our home and burst through the kitchen or your dear living room window or something, you could use those same knife and fork to defend yourself, right?
Yes.
So what we're talking about is application. You highlighted hypocrisy with the sister elders of the church chatting each other and all that because they wasn't applying the principles of the thing properly. A lot of so-called Christians and Catholics and all that kind of stuff, they're in words, yeah, man, I'm Christian, I'm Catholic, the Most High, or Jesus is God and all this kind of thing. But in their physical life, they are not manifesting nothing in relation to do unto others as others would do unto you. Honor thy mother and father, so thy days will be long in this earth. You see, sibling, there's nothing new under the sun, Nothing. We got these computers, 5G, 6G, fiber optics, all yo, that's physical stuff. That, but that all that's doing is advancing a historical system that was already in place. So when people invent stuff, they're not necessarily just creating something out of thin air. Something's already here and they're mimicking that in another format. Nothing new, nothing flipping new, man. It was written, it is preordained. Some people can challenge it, some people can reject it, but what was written in those collection of books is some solid information right there, man. Solid information. So people who are on that fence, kind of like, bun the Bible, white man thing, read it, man. Take the connotations out of your head of Sunday school. Take the Catholic priest nastiness out. Take all of that out of your head and just read it. And if something fits,
that's good.
Use it.
There's good, and I take from all of these religions, but what's more important for me is actions. See what I'm saying? So what that mom done there is showed her child that actions, talking. Reason why I'm saying when I was in church, it was talkers. When I was in Catholic school, it was talkers. Because how in one breath are you preaching the word of God and all of this righteousness, but in the next breath, you're racist? How in one breath are you talking about the word of God and love thy neighbor and all this stuff, and in the next breath, the same person you were preaching that with, you are now talking about behind their back? This is what drives people away from religion.
Yes.
So all I would say is that the mom done a wonderful job of handling that situation. She wasn't rude. She spoke with facts. She didn't cut the woman off. The woman is the one who ended up cutting her off. And I just think that this is how we need to operate.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I'm talking about everybody. Like there's parents. I remember when I was younger, the beautiful thing about my school was that it was a Catholic school, but you'd have an Indian girl, you'd have a boy over there whose parents are Rasta, you'd have the odd, it wasn't a lot, but an African, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
And what was beautiful is the different cultures mixing together. So let's say we went swimming, go swimming. A man sees me after swimming, I'm creaming down my body with some of the finest cocoa butter known to man. A man's gonna say, yo, what's that? I'm saying, yo, this is cocoa butter. What, you like don't use this? He's like, nah, I don't use all that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, different cultures. Like, that's what was beautiful. So when you start what's happening now is they want it to be everything to be the same.
Yeah.
To move underneath one order, one rule, one way of moving. They don't want that boy who's got the cocoa butter in his bag no more. They don't want that boy who's got the African pride. They don't want that boy who's got the head and shoulders. They want everyone to have the head and shoulders.
Yeah.
They don't want no different cultures. They don't want. Think about workplaces. Think about workplaces at lunchtime. White man might come with his thing, bangers and mash. You might come with what you had from last night, rice and peas and stewed chicken. Indian man might come with his curry. I know it's stereotypes that I'm calling out, but you get what I'm saying. We respect each other's culture, but what they're trying to do now in schools is everyone's a robot. You can't even say, like, you can't even say, you know, I respect you, but that's not something that I personally am down with. Similar to like a vegan versus a meat eater at lunchtime. The vegan person don't eat meat for whatever reason. The meat eater eats meat. They both can sit at the table and understand you do what you do and I do what I do. That's how we're supposed to coexist with religion too, and ways of life.
Yes.
If a man is gay, man ain't saying to hate that man or to dislike that man. Of course not. But if you get into a debate and a man says, "Yo, what do you think?" and you say, "Okay, I wouldn't want that for, my child." I don't see
Mark,
how that's a problem.
Even saying that is an issue in the Gregorian year of 2023. You can't say that in a public setting. That's stone you to death.
You cannot, 100%. You cannot. But what I'm saying is we should be at that place where you can. You should be able to say, to be honest, a gay man should be able to hear that and feel no way. And even a straight man, if a gay man said, "Yo, I think my youth, if I have a youth or, whatever, I think that youth should be gay," I shouldn't have nothing to say about that. If that's what he believes if that's what, he's into, if that's his thing, then I don't have nothing to say about it. But if you ask me a question and I say that I don't want that for my youth or whatever, I don't see where the issue comes in. But what we're getting into now is where even an opinion is now punishable. And that's what we're seeing with that situation in the school. Matter of fact, I worded that wrong. I said opinion. A fact you can be punished for. You can be punished for saying a fact. So this is why I say, even a lot of these Christian schools and stuff, are they really following the Bible? Because I don't believe they are.
Well, it can't be.
Yeah, they definitely are not. They definitely are not.
Well, listen to the mom. The mom said, "Well, what are you teaching?" Now, see, so that was what made her say, "Look, there's nothing I can come back with because we're not teaching them nothing out the Bible. We just say, for I guess tax purposes, that we're a faith-based organization, because I guess that you might get more leeway saying that, and they're an academy as well. That's another kind of thing. They're not a school; they're a faith-based academy. I'm pretty sure the government gives them extra money. I'm pretty sure of it. So again, as we're highlighting, what's being taught, what's happening in religious education. Are they comparing the three Abrahamic faiths and really going through that and finding the similarities and also highlighting the differences? No, they're clearly not. They're clearly not. It's in name only. You ask these children, what do you know about the Bible? It's old. I could probably tell you some characters in there. Jesus is God. I know that. And that will probably be it. Study to show thyself approved. They're taking away the free thoughts, the cognitive ability for children to express themselves. We're literally We're creating this life form, this young, malleable, influential, influenceable, I should say, child, which we put all our love, all our care, our guidance and protection in. We put them into daycare or whatever the hell you call it. Then it's nursery, then primary, and then we go to secondary school with the hope and faith that the people who are in charge of your children for 8 hours a day are going to be topping up what you can't do in regards to the education side with the social conditioning, i.e., you know, being able to converse with other children from different backgrounds and all that, learning how to share all of these different things, learning your place within this realm. They're saying now this fooling system, this miseducation system is training children and kids, so all that, to be literally a battery. They're pumping them up with all of this. Okay, this is what you do. This is what you don't do. Don't question authority. You are the controller of your own destiny. Your parents are literally just renting you for a certain amount of time, and then you're off. There is no bad things. The only bad things is if you come out of line with what we say. So do out thou will be the whole law. If you want to cut your hand off because it makes you feel good, we'll give you a title for that. If you want to pour bleach into your eye, we can do that. We can accommodate that and utilize the NHS to nurse you back to health, and then you're fine. It's an upside down world, man.
Backwards, very much backwards, because it gets to the point where, and I think we'll make this the last part on this topic, but it gets to the point, Noble, where even when it comes to the transgender situation, I want to touch on that just quickly. So, like, the transgender situation, I understand that some people, you know, they have a feeling that they are not born into the correct body. You know, I understand that. I don't personally have that feeling, but I do understand that there is a large group of people that have that feeling. Now, where the issue comes in is this. I think that if we are going to make that a thing where people can have these feelings and are able to go and get a surgery to make themselves the opposite sex, I think if we're going to do that, we have to be sensible about it. So what do I mean by that? I mean, children under the age of 18 cannot drive, they cannot drink alcohol, they cannot smoke. There's a lot of things they cannot do under the age of 18 and 16. You can't do it. So I'm just saying being a transgender also should fall into that category. We know that a lot of people that become transgender cut off their penis, get breasts put in and all kind of things. Cool. But you're doing something to your body that you can never undo. Same like when you drink alcohol. Every time you drink alcohol, you're depositing something in your body that you can't undo. One day you might have to pay for that. One day you might not have to pay for that. All I'm saying is that allow people to get to the age of 18. I would actually say 21, but 18, get to the age of 18 at least, and then make that decision. But it's being pushed now. 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. No, they're too young, because we only have to look at ourselves. I don't think there's much of us listening to this right now. Yeah, these children are so loud. I don't think there's nobody who can say they wanted to do something at 12, 13, 14 that they still want to do now. Like you probably wanted to be a fireman 10 times before you were 15. You see what I mean? You have all kind of different ways of looking at the world in different eras. There's people I literally know, you know. I remember there was this Jewish boy that used to work for us back in the day. These are facts. And he was matter of fact, this is the first interaction I ever had with any Jewish people, like on a personal level. We took him Glastonbury with us and everything. Now this guy, he was into hip hop like crazy. I'm talking about, he could have told you everything about Public Enemy. And he was younger than me, mind you, you know. He could tell you everything about Public Enemy, Wu-Tang, all this old school, like New York boom bap.
Yeah.
He was into it heavy. He had one of them iPod classics full of all that stuff. He was a fanatic. He was just into that stuff like crazy. He used to smoke board, do all of that. Now, I remember I'm not even putting, well, he ain't gonna get out there like that, but his dad was a lawyer, and he ran a firm. He ran a business, and his dad said to him, yo, you've got like 4 years to do what you want. And after that, you come in to do what we do. So the boy was studying and then working for us at the same time, but he was into board, hip hop, all of that. Now, the reason I'm telling this story, because I seen him a few years later and he weren't into none of that anymore.
Of course not.
He didn't care. I was saying, yo, what you saying, man? He said, I don't even listen to all that no more, you know. So what you mean? He weren't into none of that. His clothing changed, everything. And the reason I gave that example, and I know another white boy like that as well, who had locks and got into Rasta, but that's a different story. Now, the reason I gave that example is because imagine if that boy had a phase where he wanted to be a woman and he made the move. You can't then turn around and say, I don't want to be a woman no more. You've already got the breasts. You've already cut off your things. So I'm just saying, let people get to the right age before they make them decisions. And if you say that, you are now homophobic, and I just think that it's a dangerous water that we are starting to swim in by introducing that. Like, people are doing some extreme things, and I think this new age of like acceptance is pushing people to do these things. There are people, it was like in school. In school, you'd have people in school who they never really belonged anywhere. When I was in school, you know where to find me with the other black children. And I'm not saying that was like it's a race thing, but I'd be with other black children. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it was. And then you'd have some boys who they was with skaters. Then you'd have some people who was with smokers. Like, we was kind of like a garage rap kind of thing. So you'd have a couple of white boys in the group as well, but overall it was all the children from who were black. Now, you'd have children who didn't belong anywhere. They didn't fit into any group. So what they would then do is start getting into like Slipknot and Blink-182, and you could always join that gothic group. You see what I'm saying? And you weren't joining that group because that's what you wanted to do. You were joining that group because you was getting in where you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, reason I'm giving that example is because I'm saying there are people who are jumping on this thing to get in where they fit in also. They don't truly feel like woman. They're doing it because they know that that is a way to kind of, it's a power play in it.
Yes.
In a workplace, a man can't say nothing. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it with my own eyes. A man can't say any. That's one thing that, listen, that's one thing you cannot do. Question anything. Like in a workplace, you're working with anybody who belongs to the LGBT. You better not have no opinion, say anything, because HR are not taking your side. Because no company, no business wants that smoke.
Of course not. especially now, and it's changed so. When I first kind of entered the workforce, let's say probably 3-4 years in, I joined a very big organization, and it was, as you say, it was very diverse. And within maybe a week to 2 weeks, I found out that pretty much 40% of the sales force were part of the LGBTQ. At this time, I don't think there was the plus, the I, or the Q, and all the rest of the stuff on there. And I found them to be, the majority of them, to be very pleasant people, cool people. Some, indeed, at times, and I had to set them straight, try to overstep boundaries and stuff. But there wasn't this sort of narrative that's in play at the moment. They were just doing their thing, you know. Some were flamboyant, some were just, you wouldn't tell, then they're just quote unquote normal guys kind of thing. Others you can see, how they walk and their mannerisms, and a lot of them now they've got like their eyebrows done, they're pumping their lips up, they've got false nails on and all kind of stuff. And it can be very confusing, but it seems like it's been weaponized, in my opinion, this whole thing. Because there's a lot of people who are in that community who are like, what are you guys doing? What's all this news about? What are we propagating here? We didn't fight for this stuff. We just want to be left alone. We don't want to be attacked by people and all that kind of stuff. And that's the case now. People aren't, there's no like gay bashing as it used to be called back in the day. There's none of that. Well, there's incidents that take place. Let's not get it twisted. But it wasn't a predominant thing. There's establishments. You've got the gay village in Brum. Huh?
Yes.
Where they can go, establishments. We're not just talking about gay night at a pub. We're talking about
the whole area.
Yeah.
And nothing's wrong. We're not saying nothing's wrong.
Nothing is wrong with it. Nothing is wrong with it. It's what is wrong is the weaponization of whoever is pushing this narrative. Whereas I say, I think there's at least 60% of them who are like, I don't agree with half of the stuff that you people are doing. Like, we're living now. We've won the battle because we're accepted now. We're CEOs. Just like, and this is the weird thing. When our foreparents were fighting for equality, which we still don't have, but we were fighting for equality on the books, in civil, in human rights, in civil rights. If we can go back, because it's all documented, we can go back at newspapers, we can look at interviews. There wasn't this knee-jerk reaction on the other side saying, yeah, man, if you aren't down with letting black folk, be equal to us, then you're hateful, we're going to cancel you, you're going to lose your job. There was none of that going on. It was an uphill battle to get to where we was. And off the back of that, it seems that they're using that whole struggle to say, well, we're going through exactly the same thing, guys. Even though, as we said earlier, even though it's not obvious, unless we make it obvious, you wouldn't know. But we wanted to be afforded the same opportunities, the same civil rights that you guys got, that you fought for, that, the dogs were sicked on you, hose reels, sit-ins, walkouts. Look at the total disrespect, and look at the things that we had to do in America. They made a constitution, Mark. They made a constitution saying that that original people, black folk, prisoners of war, were 4/5 of a human being. They made something called the 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
So they put into law that we weren't human. We were chattel, quote unquote, slaves, prisoners of war. I don't see no laws on the books. I mean, buggery, there was a law on the books over in England about buggery. That was illegal at a time. But, there was nothing explicitly in there saying, yo, if you have this kind of way of thinking sexually, we're going to lock you up in prison. We're going to do this to you. We're going to do that. We're going to oppress you. We're going to do this to you. There was none of that. So the comparisons, miss me with it, man. Miss me with the comparisons with that thing.
It's the truth, man. It's the truth. And what I'm saying is, it's like you said, man ain't got no problem with nobody. I got no problem with no one, how they want to live their life. None of that. I remember one time I was going to work, and I was on my way to work. I was running late. This is the old Palisades days. Parked on the top of the Palisades, and you used to come through the back to get into town. And I was coming through the back, and a man was giving a man head.
What?
I swear to God. A man was on the stairs giving another man head, and I swear that I didn't know, like, I turned around and went back upstairs, like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't
Is
know.
this in the daytime?
In the morning, remember the shop opens at 10. This is like 10:05. Like, these men were doing this, and I remember I didn't know what to do. I froze, and then I turned around and walked back. Anyway, these two men, there was two different people that worked for two different shops. So they had like center management and that.
Yeah.
So I remember I'm thinking, yo, this is mad. Like, I don't know what to do. Anyway, I went back to my car for like 5 minutes, and I came back down the same way, and the seaman was on the floor.
Get out of it, man.
No, but listen to me. I swear it on my life. May God strike me dead if I'm lying. This is in Birmingham Town Centre. There was a pile of semen on the floor, which means that they would have carried on. Now, when I actually walked into the centre, I was like, yo, how are these man? I feel to report these man, you know. I feel to report to these man to the centre, because I'm not. Everyone knows everyone, especially in them days. If a man works in River Island, you know who it is, if it's a manager or whatever. And one of them was a manager of a shop.
Flipping out.
I'm saying, and I remember just thinking, yo, look at this, man. You see what I mean? And I remember there was a Christmas party. Palisades were having a Christmas party, and was in the Christmas party. See what I'm saying? I just felt awkward, and I just thought, like, I shouldn't have to feel like that. See what I'm saying? You shouldn't make man feel uncomfortable.
Of course.
And I'm saying I would feel the same way if it was man and woman in there, or two women in there. I'm just saying there's a certain, not everybody, but there's a certain percentage of men who feel like
that's not acceptable.
You know, yeah, it's not acceptable at all. No, but it's not.
Yeah. Man, woman, man and man.
We can't say anything.
Of course not, man. And just imagine, listen, what if that was a family with a small child walking on in them stairs?
It could have easily been, because it wasn't just for the staff. The public could use that staircase. And I remember thinking, look at that. And I felt so uncomfortable. And I'm saying, like, yo, how these men feel that entitled to do that? You see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just, and it's getting to the level now where you can't even have a disagreement with a man with something unrelated. Because if it's something unrelated, he can still go to whoever and say, I feel uncomfortable because my man said this, and I believe he said it because I'm gay. No company wants that smoke. They don't. No company wants that LGBTQ smoke, because that smoke is very thick. And if you inhale it, your lungs are finished.
Yeah.
You don't want that smoke. So what I'm trying to say is, people need to understand. Like me, I just don't entertain the discussion at all. Public forums, I don't get into the conversation. I just don't get into it. Yeah, man, it's a trap. It's a trap. I seen they tried to well, you know, we on Patreon. They tried to trap my mom as well. My mom got asked a question. We won't get into what it exactly was, and what, you know, we won't get into none of that. But she was asked a question, and she was tricked. She was tricked. And I'm saying there's no way of I just say, just don't say anything. Everybody, like, just don't say, if you're in a workplace, whatever, just don't enter the conversation, because not everything is homophobic. And I was one of them. There was a point in my life, you know, where I was into bashment as my first music. Real facts. I think from about the age of, the whole of my secondary school years, I was into rap, but that was my secondary music.
Yeah.
Bashment was my first music. So I used to listen to I was heavy into Sound Clashes and
Yes.
Bashment artists, Bounty, Mad Cobra, Spragger, Capleton. You see what I'm saying? Before Cartel was busting around them times, but that was the era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Busy.
Busy he didn't come them times yet.
Okay.
By the time Busy started to bust, I was a hip hop head.
See
what I'm saying? But what had happened was Bashment subject matters was limited. This is the only thing Bashment man used to sing about for this short window. They used to sing about gal being a gyalis, how much pod man were blazing down and burning out. So, you see what I'm saying? Remember, you had bare songs, Boom Bye Bye. What's that song?
Chichi.
Yeah, 21. There was bare different songs like that. And when you went to a dance, a man would either say, all una bow, put up on one. Or a man would say, if you're not, you know what I'm saying? If you're not that, your hand, you're not a batty man, put up your hand, I'll just say it's Patreon. And I was one of the ones saying, yo, that man need to stop focusing on that.
Yeah.
Stop burning, just allow that topic altogether. And that kind of turned me off the music because I felt like too much time was being spent focused on a group, hating a group.
Yes. For no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. I was one of the ones who was big on, yo, just run with these, man. It started to become where man were just doing it to get to
reaction.
I don't even think man really even felt that way. Now, I believe that's why Afro Beats has been able to come in and take over. I do believe that. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. I think Bashment never had no subject matter. It started going Lil Wayne and mans like that. If you look at someone like Cartel, very talented artist, but that wasn't Bashment. That's Southern hip hop. His look, that's Southern hip hop. Look at them, man. Google a picture of Vybz Kartel, then Google a picture of Young Thug, Wiz Khalifa, and Lil Wayne. That influence that Cartel had from the hip hop world, because he was so talented as an artist, that's what started to spearhead the Bashment world. So what I'm trying to say is now with the Afro beats have come in and then they're not on all of that.
It's a vibe thing.
Yeah, it's a vibe. When you hear that, there's one tune, no matter what mood you're in, when the tune comes on, you just makes you feel good. That Burna Boy, what's it called? What's the song? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, when we was in Thailand, we used to be pumping that loud, man, on that motorway, and it's just feel good music.
Yeah.
Now Bashment, they were just too focused on all that stuff. And what I'm saying is, I was one of the few people who was saying, yo, them man need to move on from that. And that turned man away from the music. Now, the reason I've said all of that is just to show, man, don't hate this group. But it's getting to a point where you can't even say anything. And that's the way the world's going now. You can't say anything that goes against the mainstream narrative for whatever reason. It's crazy.
Definitely easy.
Hey, what do you say, Rob? You got any last words on that before we switch this up?
Let's switch it, man. Switch.